still it holds a goodly share of bliss. When the sun gives way to April showers, here's the point that you should never miss. Though April showers may come your way, they bring the flowers that bloom in May. So if it's raining, have no regrets, because it isn't raining rain, you know, it's raining violets. And where you see clouds upon the hills, there soon will be crowds of daffodils. So keep on looking for the bluebird and listening for his song whenever April showers come along. I have learned to smile when skies are gloomy, smile although my heart's about to break. When I know that trouble's coming to me, here's the happy attitude I take. Though April showers may come your way, they bring the flowers that bloom in May. So if it's raining, have no regrets, because it isn't raining rain, you know, it's raining violets. And where you see clouds upon the hills, you soon will see crowds of daffodils. So keep on looking for the bluebird and listening for his song whenever April showers come along.
Thank you so much to Kathy and Bob Porter for that delightful rendition of April Showers. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee's online worship service. I'm Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom, and I'm honored to serve as First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee's senior minister. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all you're bringing with you this morning and all your heart longs to set down. In this time of the COVID-19 public health crisis, all First Church in-person activities have been moved online or rescheduled. We are offering all ages religious education every Sunday at 10 a.m. and youth group at 1 p.m. online. You can find the link in your RE weekly updates. Sign up for that update to find out more about religious education and family ministry, including ways to connect with our families, our faith, and our community every week. Join us for virtual coffee hour this morning after service at 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. where we'll chat in small groups. You can find the Zoom meeting link in the live stream chat now or in your Friday e-announcements. Remember, the password is UUMKE, all lowercase. Members, guests, and visitors are all welcome, but you do have to bring your own coffee. This coming Thursday, myself and Reverend Dina will offer a chat with your ministers on Zoom, Connect and Reflect session. You can find the link in your e-announcements or in the chat right now. Also, on Monday from 12 to 12:30, I will offer a lunch with the senior minister opportunity on our Facebook Live group. Please join our Facebook group to get more announcements and ways to connect virtually and in person during this time of COVID-19. Join our very first virtual Journey to Membership class. This is the class that might be perfect for you if you've just never been able to find a way to work in Journey to Membership in your schedule. The class is a prerequisite to membership, but you are not required to join if you attend the class. Sign up if you're interested in membership or if you're just curious to learn more about us. Classes will be held on the 4 Wednesdays of May 6th through 27th, from 6:30 until 8:30 p.m. You can find the link to sign up in your live chat, or you can send an email to First Church Membership Coordinator, Lynn Jacoby. Once again, I welcome you to First Church by inviting you to repeat our mission after me. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action. These opening words are from Brené Brown. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal other than we normalized greed and inequity and exhaustion and depletion and extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return to that, my friends. We're being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. Now let's return for a moment to our beloved sanctuary, where I'll light our flaming chalice, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. My dear ones, because of the unprecedented times in which we're living and the ways in which all our lives are being touched by the grief and the loss of this global coronavirus pandemic, we're starting a new practice for the pandemic called the COVID candle. As of yesterday, we've counted 53,625 deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. The COVID candle is for when one of those deaths is the death of a loved one of one of our members. If you have had a loved one die from coronavirus and would like the COVID candle lit for them during Sunday worship, contact one of our First Church ministers. This week, we've had 2 deaths of members' loved ones. Sophia Antonopoulos Bokas, mother of Nick Bokas and mother-in-law of Patricia McFarlane, age 96, died from COVID-19 on April 21st, 2020, in hospice in the Philadelphia area. Elizabeth Habakkuk McCullum, mother of Vashti Lozier, known as Betty, died Tuesday night, April 21st, 2020, at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. She was 79 years old. Our pandemic practice, when one of our members' loved ones dies from COVID-19, is to honor their life and their death by lighting the COVID candle. Thus, today, we light our candle in honor of Sophia Antonopoulos Bokas and Betty Habakkuk McCullum. I'd like to invite you all now to join in a time of contemplation, which will be followed by silence, followed by the spirit of life. So take a moment to try to just get comfortable in your body, however you need to do that. Maybe it helps to feel your sit bones grounding in the seat beneath you or your feet on the floor. Maybe it helps to feel the top of your head connecting to all that is. And maybe it helps to feel your breath moving in and out of your body and bringing you into being here and now. Spirit of life and love, Holy One of our being and our becoming, that which is sacred within, among, and beyond us. Comfort us this morning in the midst of all the pain in the world. Let us feel your feathery wings wrap gently around us and hold us in love. May we rest in that love, that larger love that holds us, that holds all we love, that holds all. May we feel our connection to that love and to each other and to all that is. May the connection hold us, and in time may love heal us and the world. May it be so, and amen. Let's return now to our beloved sanctuary where the singing bowl will frame our shared silence, and then we can sing Spirit of Life.
Good morning. I'm Amy Wilborn, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. I hope you're home, safe, healthy, and comfortable. I also want to tell you how much I miss seeing your faces at church. So I was raised in a loving home in Neenah, Wisconsin. I'm the youngest of 5 children of parents nearly 2 generations older than I am. My mother was close to 40 when she had me. Both of my parents were raised in strict Southern homes, and neither of them went to college. My father dropped out of school after the 7th grade. My parents met in their early 20s and got married 2 weeks after their first date. They often told me that they didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of back then, but they were happy. My mother was funny, affectionate, generous, and loved by many, and at 91 years old, she still is. My dad, who's no longer living, was the breadwinner and worked 6, sometimes 7 days a week, running an airline. So my mother was the chief cook and bottle washer, as she would say, and the disciplinarian. My siblings and I received our discipline Southern style. We were spanked with the good old-fashioned switch, and occasionally had our mouths washed out with soap. Appearances were important to my parents. My mother especially. She always wore makeup in public, dressed nicely, and dieted off and on to control her weight. People's physical appearances, including my own, were always a topic of conversation and criticism. I knew that I could always earn her approval by being thin, wearing my hair the way she liked, and dressing according to her standards. But it was often hard to measure up. It became pretty clear to me by the time I was a young adult that my mother and I would not be close emotionally. Much like her way of disciplining, her way of responding to emotional pain was through shaming. The things I wanted to share were not things that I was supposed to share with my parents, at least not the way my parents were raised. I was a sensitive girl and a young woman with big feelings, but I also wanted my mother's approval. Those big feelings seemed unwelcome sometimes, and I learned that playing small was easier than being myself with my family, especially my mom. It's taken time, but I've forgiven my parents, especially my mother, for their emotional limitations. Becoming a parent myself is when I began to be able to forgive. Parenting gave me an opportunity to parent the way that I had longed to be parented. It also helped me feel more compassionate toward my mother when it must have been very difficult to raise 5 kids with a husband who worked too much. I don't play small for my mom anymore. I've learned to combat shame with empathy for my mother and for the young Amy who wanted to be mothered in a different way. I've come to realize that my mother was given limited tools to parent with, and even more limited was her toolbox to deal with emotional pain, her own and mine. Forgiving my mom has freed me to be myself. I am free from having to try and please her because I don't need her approval to feel good about myself anymore. Of course, I want to do things that make her happy, but letting go of that need to please has allowed me to step into my own light instead of waiting for her to shine hers on me. Comments about my hair, my clothes, my weight, which my mom still sometimes makes, they sting, but can no longer damage me. Forgiveness doesn't make the pain go away, but forgiving my mother has allowed me to love her and care for her in this very turbulent and frightening time when she is the more vulnerable one. Forgiveness has allowed me to say she's done the best she can with the tools she has. After all, that's what I'm doing as a parent. I'm doing the best I can with the tools I have, and I can only hope my sons forgive me one day for the things that I didn't get right.
Thank you so much to Patricia Witt for that lovely rendition of Gabriel Faure's Capriccio, Opus 84, number 1. It's just lovely. This week, I was grateful to participate in a press conference held by the Wisconsin Faith Voices for Justice in support of the Badger Bounce Back Plan. Because we want to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Wisconsin, there were a number of speakers from our community who shared their experiences of dealing with COVID-19. One of the speakers, the Reverend Dr. Marcus Allen, president of the African American Council of Churches and pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church in Madison, shared the story of what happened to his mother, Gloria Allen. Gloria, who lives in Milwaukee, got sick. She had the symptoms of COVID-19. She went in to visit her doctor in mid-March, and at that time, she was diagnosed with a sinus infection. She went home and lived normally, but still wasn't feeling well by the end of March. So she went back in, and at that time they told her that she had bronchitis. She really still wasn't feeling well. And a week after that, in early April, she called her doctor again and said that she was coughing a lot and struggling to breathe sometimes. And they prescribed the steroid and the immunosuppressant prednisone. Over the course of her illness, Gloria Allen sought medical care for almost 3 weeks, and she had classic symptoms of COVID-19. Through that entire time, Wisconsin was in a public health emergency and coronavirus was spreading quickly through Milwaukee. But her doctor never told her that she might have COVID-19 or gave her any information on how to protect her family or her community if she was contagious. Gloria lives with and is the primary caretaker of her 86-year-old mother. On the morning of April 9th, Gloria Allen called her doctor again because she was experiencing shortness of breath. They never called her back that day. At 7 p.m., she was having so much trouble breathing that she called 911. The Milwaukee Fire Department came to her house. And even though she had 103-degree fever, they never took her temperature. She also had a deep cough and severe shortness of breath. And they did recognize that something was wrong with her lungs, but they still told her that she was not sick enough for them to transport her to the hospital. They also advised her not to go to the hospital because she wasn't sick enough. So she didn't go. Gloria stayed home that night. The next day, when her son called her to check on her, he was extremely alarmed that she was having trouble breathing. So he called her primary physician himself. At that point, her doctor finally raised the alarm bell and told Gloria to go to the hospital, where she tested positive for COVID-19. Reverend Dr. Marcus Allen's mother, Gloria, is Black. She received inferior treatment at the hands of her primary care physician and the Milwaukee Fire Department. Inferior treatment that put her life at risk in this COVID-19 pandemic. Inferior treatment that is in marked contrast to the treatment of many white patients in Milwaukee. Thank goodness, Gloria Allen survived. She got the treatment that she needed in the hospital that day, and she's back at home safe and well with her family. But not everyone and particularly not everyone in the Black community in Milwaukee does survive. Audre Lorde gave a powerful speech in 1981 entitled "The Uses of Anger." Lorde said, "Anger is loaded with information and with energy. It's potentially useful against those oppressions, both personal and institutional, which brought that anger into being. Focused with precision, it can become a powerful source of energy serving progress and change." Lorde clarified, "When I speak of change, I do not mean a simple switch of positions or a temporary lessening of tensions, nor the ability to smile or feel good. I'm speaking of a basic and radical alteration in those assumptions underlying our lives. Anger expressed and translated into action in the service of our vision of our future is a liberating and strengthening act of clarification." Reverend Marcus Allen did not say whether or not he was angry about what happened to his mother, but I know that I am. I also know that he was able to take action on behalf of his mother that will benefit other people in the Black community in Milwaukee. Reverend Allen launched investigations into his mother's treatment by her physician at Aurora Healthcare and into the care given by the Milwaukee Fire Department. Reverend Allen said that the Milwaukee Fire Department was responsive and honest about what went wrong. In particular, Assistant Fire Chief Aaron Lipsky was very responsive to Reverend Allen and was in conversation with him every day for 5 days. He sent Pastor Allen the investigations report stating that the Milwaukee Fire Department did not follow proper protocols for COVID-19 when they treated his mom. But more importantly, the fire department is making institutional changes as a result of the incident and the investigation, which will hopefully mean better treatment for other Black people in Milwaukee. Reverend Allen is still waiting to hear back from Aurora Health, whose investigation is ongoing. In our Time for All Ages story this morning, Those Darn Squirrels, the darn squirrels wanted to mend their relationship with Mr. Fuquire. So they worked hard to put together a gift that would make him happy. First, they paid reparations. That $46 in change that they had, and then they worked to repair the relationship, putting energy and creativity into making Mr. Fuquire feel good. These are 2 steps that can be crucial in repairing anger, in repairing harm and addressing the anger that comes from harm. Step 1, reparations for harm that has been caused. And step 2, intentional attention to the well-being of the people or person who has been harmed. But what about when this does not happen? What happens when there are no reparations? There's no move to change and make things better going forward. Sometimes when there's not even an admission of guilt. Personally, nothing infuriates me more than when someone has caused harm and refuses to acknowledge that harm or insists that they didn't cause it in the first place. That kind of gaslighting sends me over the edge of fury and into a place of wanting to pull recordings and video and proof that it did happen. It mattered that the fire department admitted they did wrong by not even taking Gloria Allen's temperature when they evaluated her, and by telling her to stay home, even though they determined there was something wrong with her lungs in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic. It matters to admit wrongdoing. But sometimes that never happens. In Amy's story, her mother never had an epiphany that she was emotionally unavailable to her daughter. She was never able to look Amy in the eye and say, I did that to you. I harmed you in that way, and I am truly sorry. Sometimes the deepest wounds we experience involve someone who is unwilling or unable to admit culpability and to engage in the kind of repair that can heal relationship. Sometimes the person just can't admit what they've done. Sometimes they don't understand what they've done. Sometimes they don't even seem to care. And sometimes that person just isn't available. They're too far away or long gone or deceased. What sort of repair is available in those cases to people who have been harmed? Pastor Nadia Bolz Weber says that holding on to anger at mistreatment keeps us connected to the person who harmed us. Forgiveness, she argues, is an act of liberation from that harm and from the person who caused the harm. She doesn't imagine this as repair of relationship, however, but rather as a severing from the harm that repairs the person who released that harm. Pastor Bolz Weber sees anger as a tether that keeps us chained to the harm and to the person who caused it, and forgiveness as a way to just cut that chain. I've experienced that in my own life. When I was younger, a man hurt my family, and I hated him with a burning fury for years. I envisioned harming him in retribution, imagining physical violence would release my rage. And then one night, years later, I had a dream that helped me understand that man as part of the circle of all beings in the web of larger life. The dream allowed me to forgive him on a spiritual level. I still don't condone what he did, actions that were profoundly wrong and always will be. But forgiving him on the larger spiritual plane has released me from intrusive thoughts of repetitive rage. It cut the chain that bound me to him, and it freed me. The Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker has written about her anger at the man who abused her in the book Proverbs of Ashes, which she co-authored with Rita Nakashima Barak. In the book, she writes that love is the wisdom of life that knows when connection can heal and when separation will make life flourish. In Dr. Parker's life, compassion for the man who abused her kept her tied to the abuse. It was separation that gave her life again and allowed her to care for herself. Dr. Parker gave herself the gift of freedom from the man and from the harm by letting go of the compassion and thereby the connection to him. Still a universalist, Dr. Parker is comfortable letting God do the work of forgiveness rather than requiring herself to do that work. God, who is infinite in all things, including mercy, can be responsible for loving and for forgiving that evil. Dr. Parker was released from him and from the violence by releasing him and compassion for him to God. Audre Lorde said, "My anger has meant pain to me, but it has also meant survival. And before I give it up, I'm going to be sure that there is something at least as powerful to replace it on the road to clarity." My own anger helped me survive, too. Forgiveness can't free anyone who doesn't survive, so survival must come first. Anger was a necessary protective mechanism for me on my slow journey to healing, keeping me safely separate from the person who caused me harm. And like Reverend Allen's pursuit of justice led him to correct the wrongs in the larger system that harmed his mother, and thereby hopefully prevent other members of the Black community in Milwaukee from being similarly harmed, my own anger also led me to work to change the system that caused harm to my family. And working for that kind of change is incredibly important, and it's work that I'm still committed to. But as I healed, I wanted even more powerful medicine for my spirit than anger. And it was forgiveness that severed the final tether to harm and gave me full liberation from it. Lorde closed her speech by saying, "I speak here as a woman of color who is not bent upon destruction, but upon survival. We use whatever strengths we have fought for, including anger, to help define and fashion a world where all our sisters can grow, where our children can love, and where the power of touching and meeting another woman's difference and wonder will eventually transcend the need for destruction." This time that we're in now includes so much. More destruction further along the lines that destruction has always trod, the old path of racism, of homophobia, of greed and indifference and cruelty. But this time also includes cracks in those old paths, those old systems, places where we can use the crowbar of love and solidarity to pry open the path for a new way. Places we can use the space and the quiet for personal and collective healing. Eventually, we will transcend the need for destruction. On your own journey with harm, what matters most is that you heal, and that you then participate in the larger healing of the world. Sometimes anger is a useful tool on that road, and sometimes forgiveness is the tool that severs the chain to the harm. Travel on the road to your own healing at your own pace. There's no reason to rush or push yourself to use a tool that your spirit doesn't need at the moment. As I said last week, this time of COVID-19 is a time of collective trauma. Any of us who have experienced individual trauma will find that it is triggered right now. If you have been harmed, the effects of that harm will be surfacing in this experience. Being triggered, having your body respond to constant threat, is exhausting. But I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not alone in the work to heal. You're not alone in the experience of collective trauma. You're not alone in trying to transform it. The lovers and the artists and the light workers of the world and the larger love that holds us all and never lets anyone go, all of these are sending you love during this time and calling you on to encourage you on your path of healing and onto the path of healing the community. May we all pay attention to our own soul's calling as well as the needs of the world, and use the shifts of this time to heal what has been harmed, each at our own pace, each using the tools that our soul needs to heal. May it be so, and amen. Now let's turn to listen to Dale Skaggs invite our generosity at this time.
Good morning. We know this coronavirus pandemic is affecting our members in many different ways, but for those of us who are able to give right now, it is more important than ever to share our resources with people who have been harder hit by the pandemic. Our church supports members and friends of our congregation spiritually, emotionally, and materially, and supports people in Milwaukee through our relationships with our community partners. Your pledges are the foundation of our congregation and the core of our spiritual practice of generosity. In addition, we are grateful for non-pledge gifts from folks who appreciate our online ministry and are benefiting from it. We also have a special fund for people who need financial support called the Minister's Discretionary Fund. You can give to the church by texting 73256 with the message "Give to UU $." The word "give," the number 2, UU $. Follow the prompts and choose pledge payment, non-pledge gift, or minister's discretionary. You can also give to First Church by going to our web-based giving link, onrealm.org/FUSM/give/First Church. You can see both these options on your screen. We also encourage you to give directly to our community partners. You can find a list of their needs on our website at UU-Milwaukee.org/support-Milwaukeeans-COVID-19. That link should be on your screen as well. Today, we're highlighting the work of the Interchange Food Pantry, which feeds people from all over Milwaukee. To give to Interchange, go to the GoFundMe page at the link on your screen, or you can go to gofundme.com and search for Interchange Food Pantry. All of your offerings to our community partners and to First Church will be gratefully received. And now, as always, but especially at this time when our interdependence is so evident, thank you for your generosity.
My dear ones, may you heal during this time of change. May you receive the light from the lovers and the artists and the light workers and your own loved ones, as well as the larger love that holds all of us and all we love, the larger love that holds all. May you heal, and may you be part of the great healing of the world. May it be so, and amen. Now let's just return for a moment to our beloved sanctuary to extinguish the chalice, and then listen to our postlude played by our very own Don Weimer. We'll see you next Sunday.